Welcome to the Expert Edge. This is the show where we bring on experts in their fields of health and wellness practice. We hear their stories and we learn what they see working in the field of diabetes reversal and prevention. And I'm happy to introduce today's expert, Terri West. Welcome, Terri.
Thank you. And thank you to you and your listeners for having me.
For those of you that haven't met her, Terri West is the founder of Plantfully Pittsburgh. It's a plant-based hospitality consultancy, and she runs a sister division called Plantfully Living, which is kind of a mentorship in how to adopt a plant-forward lifestyle. She is a professionally trained consultant, and she strives to assist a variety of food service businesses in Western Pennsylvania to tap into the growing market of plant-based cuisine, things that both vegans and traditional guests are often looking for. She earned certifications in plant-based nutrition from eCornell, plant-based cooking from Forks Over Knives, and Vegan Hospitality Consultancy from Vegan Hospitality. She's been thriving on a plant-forward lifestyle since 2017 and also volunteers as a facilitator and board member for the nonprofit community organization Plant-Based Pittsburgh. So, part of her mission is to support the Pittsburgh area food scene in inclusively and deliciously accommodating plant-forward diners while enjoying the resulting profit. So, we're going to be diving into the topic today of how do you look at being plant-based or plant-forward when you're in the hospitality business. And this is for you whether you're on the preparation of the food end like a chef, or whether you're like me, you're just always looking for a place where you can eat out and have plant-based options. So, Terri, tell us a little bit about how did you get started with your interest in health and lifestyle?
Well, sure. So it really started like it does for so many, where I reached a point in my own health along the way that I was having some issues, multiple issues, and weight issues, and at the same time was caring for my parents who were having a lot of health issues themselves. And I could not help but put two and two together that the way I was continuing was not sustainable. And I really felt like when I was faced with the need to take some medicine to help my health at one point, I realized that I was at my heaviest and I needed to do something to help my body use that medicine as best it could and not fight against it by pouring food into my body that was going to work against it and was bad for my body. So I started making the connection then. So I started cleaning up my diet step by step. And like for most people, it is a journey. It's not just turning a switch and adopting a completely different lifestyle overnight. So I went step by step, and that was more of a Mediterranean vegetarian, but very light on the yogurts and that type of thing. But I then made the connection when my sister announced that she was going to go vegan, and I knew in the back of my brain that that was the best thing for me as well, because I did have some estrogen positive cell changes, and I knew that I needed to stop eating estrogen in mammals, and it just made sense. So I decided to not only be vegan, but to be plant-based, be basically a healthy version of vegan because I already stopped eating processed food. So eating processed vegan food did not make sense to me. So I continued on, and then I learned that whole world of whole food, plant-based living and medicine, and I just dove into that. And of course, like many people who follow my path, felt so amazing that I wanted to share it with other people because not only did I lose 40 pounds and keep it off, I also, and the better I did, the more I lost and could maintain it. But I also got rid of the cell changes I was experiencing, and not just from the one area concerned, but from many. And then I also was able to get rid of joint pains that I was having from some palindromic rheumatism, which is a very, you know, side specialty of rheumatoid arthritis. Got rid of that and just felt overall like my energy exploding. And when you have a lot of energy, you want to share it with everyone. So that's how I got started with that and realized that by helping other people in their journeys, realized that the biggest thing tripping up most of us, okay, if I control my environment and I can cook as healthy as I can at home, there does come a time when I want to step foot outside my front door. And that involves a lot of issues from where do I get something quick to eat to I want to go out to dinner with my family and my friends. Those are the biggest things that trip us up because traditional cooking for restaurants involves a lot of oil and salt and sugar and fats like butters and lards, and you can't get away from it. And they are hidden in things that we don't even know, like oil and rice, all over the rice, oil and lard in the beans, and you don't know it. And a lot of salt where you don't suspect it, which is why when you leave a restaurant, many times you are extremely thirsty almost immediately, lasting, at least a good day. And so then there's a lot more salt because they're a lot of times taught to salt at each stage of the cooking process. And it just makes the foods hyper palatable and craveable so that patrons will keep coming back more and more because it just is very addicting. When you get that sweet spot with all of the oils and salts and sugars and it's just how they're able to build a business, but they also genuinely want to take care of their customers too and make them happy. But that's the way they've been classically trained. But now here comes a different school of thought. And okay, so if we were able to do it that way, there are now people who want to eat healthier. But if cutting out restaurant food is the first layer in making yourself healthy, then that hurts restaurants. So it's a win-win, I feel, to introduce some healthier ways of eating for restaurants that include a lot more of the vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and less, and then also watching the cooking methods, including, not so much oil, not so much salt, how to flavor their dishes without those ingredients, and still stay on brand so that their traditional customers will still want to eat those healthier foods because really we are targeting not just people who are plant-based or vegan, but just people who have health concerns all around who might notice a really healthy dish on the menu or other people in the restaurant eating it and think, oh, tonight I think I want to do, I'll order this dish. Just because it has healthy ingredients in it, and a delicious preparation for it, and that they can feel good about what they're eating. They can walk away from the restaurant without feeling bloated and terrible and lethargic. And that will keep them coming back to give them, dishes that they can eat like that. So those traditional customers will also order that way sometimes too. Maybe not all the time, maybe just sometimes, but it really shows a modern mindedness when restaurants can display their culinary prowess in incorporating healthier dishes like that.
I really love that vision that you have because as I work with people that are trying to reverse prediabetes, get off their medications with type 2 diabetes or other metabolic issues like obesity, eating out is one of the biggest challenges that I see in my clientele. They're like, I don't know what to get. Like, there's nothing on the menu that really fits, our healthy criteria for what we should be eating, but I don't want to give up going out to eat with my girlfriends or taking my family out. And I realized that as you started working with private coaching with individuals, that their biggest challenges were when they were trying to eat outside
Yeah.
of the home or on the road and traveling. And so I love how that kind of brought you into the space of what can we do to provide better quality, healthier food in the commercial dining space, like eating out, whether it's fast foods or sit down restaurants. So I would love to hear from you. What are some of the strategies that you are finding are working well on the hospitality business side of it, like working with chefs, working with people that create the menus. What are you seeing? And I know that you're kind of local in that Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, but I believe your experience is valuable for other people to get ideas because maybe in your town, if this is something that you really are passionate about, you might be able to do something very similar to what Terri is doing. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about, first of all, how you work with the restaurants. Then after a bit, we'll dive into how do we navigate restaurant eating as consumers. But let's start with how you found working with these establishments.
Sure, thank you. So let me give a little shout out to Vegan Hospitality. That's at veganhospitality.com. I was trained by the founder of that organization, Meredith Marine, and she has consultants all over the world that are working toward this, and I believe about 24 states in the United States. But we actually do network together where we are kept in close communication as closely as we each want to in our work with different food businesses and just to get ideas and support from each other. But she is always training new cohorts if anybody's looking to become a consultant like I am. And she is also certifying restaurants as being vegan friendly. And she is also seeking information, survey results from restaurants right now, from proprietors, from managers, that will help give us some feedback on exactly what they're looking for and what their experience has been. So it's not just focusing on just the consumer. We also support the businesses so that they can make money doing this. We are not looking for restaurants to lose money. They work hard. And we want to support what they're doing because this is not something, again, that they were classically trained to do. So they just need somebody to come in who lives this way and who's been trained this way to help them to streamline their business in a very easy fashion from our expertise and to help them to train their staff, to look at their menu, figure out how to stay on brand with some items, how to source products, and so forth. And there's so many things that we can do to help them, including marketing and giving them ideas on how they can reach consumers to let us all know what they're doing for us. Because many times restaurants will have vegan items just in case a vegan shows up, and then they pull it off of their menu because it's not selling. But the thing is that they didn't tell anybody it was on there. And vegans are very eager to support any restaurant who is willing to serve them and serve them well. I'll add that caveat: to serve them well, to serve them deliciously. They're more than happy to support. So what we find is that we are trying to work with restaurants, food businesses who want to help serve the plant-based and vegan communities. Um, Not just because it's the right thing to do, but like it's an inclusive way to serve all of their guests, because it really is even sad for the entire table when the vegan at the group or the healthy individual in the group can only order a small side salad or get pasta and marinara sauce for about the 25th time. And they all feel bad for that person. Well, those bad feelings translate into feeling bad for that restaurant. And what we want restaurants to know too is that there's something called the vegan veto. And that is where the person in that whole group is generally the one who gets to choose where to go to eat.
Mhm.
And so that whole group showed up because that plant-based individual decided that they could try to pull something together at that restaurant that they could have just to be able to join all of their friends. So restaurants really should look at it as not just serving individual plant-based diners, but their entire party so that they could bring everyone in. And what it does is that when they really choose to serve well their plant-based guests, from everything from appetizers to mains, soups and dessert, that they will also um, be be attracting and just being inclusive of them so that they can order just like everyone else at the table and be beautifully served with a balanced meal that that person can enjoy. And boy, the reviews that you get when you serve a plant-based guest well are huge, because we appreciate it. Not only do we appreciate it, sometimes we order double the amount of food we want so we can take it home because we're not used to people cooking that well for us. Yeah, so we do find that it's the restaurant owners and managers who have personal connections a lot of times to people and their families or friends who are trying to eat better, who are more motivated to try to serve the plant-based guests well. So they kind of understand, they kind of get it, and they're motivated to want to do that. But we don't blame them for not knowing how. That's where our expertise comes in.
I really love that. And it really resonated with me because just this last week, we had a business lunch where the other party chose the restaurant. And it was for my husband and myself and this other couple that we had a business lunch together. And we hadn't really said much to the couple about our eating preferences. And we were meeting in a very small town that doesn't have very many options for eating and kind of where people go if they want something that isn't just like ice cream or pizza. There's a bar and grill that serves home style food, right? And so that's kind of like the nicest place in town to go, and they invited us to meet them there. And I wasn't able to get a hold of the chef ahead of time, like they just didn't answer their phone. And so I walk in and I'm looking at the menu, and there's like every kind of steak, burger, macaroni and cheese, fries, and they all their salads had meat in them. And and so we were like, this will be interesting. And then I realized that there was a taco salad there. And so we asked them to hold the meat and the cheese and to give us extra tomatoes and olives. So we ended up with this deep fried taco shell full of lettuce, tomatoes, olives. They did a nice job of what was in it, but there really wasn't any protein. And we came home, and my husband was starved like 3 hours later because there wasn't a protein option. And so I think these are the things that your services can really help restaurants to do so that people walk away, like you said, with a balanced meal instead of just a bunch of greens or side vegetables.
Yes, many times there's the perception that if someone is plant-based or vegan, that, oh, you must just really like salad.
Right.
Well, we do have needs for our bodies just like everyone else. And, or they're giving us just like a giant thing of vegetables, which I'm always happy with, but I need some beans in there. I would like some tofu. Some lentils would be awesome. So yeah, just figuring that out. Now there's some vegans who do want more of the processed vegan foods, and that's also something I can help with, but I try to stay within the bounds of things that I think are the healthiest versions that we can do. Like vegan cheese, I don't get excited about. So sometimes restaurants are worried, I don't want to have these special things on hand because they just go bad. If nobody comes in and orders it, they just go bad. No matter how much I promote it, maybe the timing's just not there, and they can't use it all up. And I don't like wasted product either. And part of serving plant-based vegan food is that it's far more sustainable for restaurants, and it can help them in those initiatives as well. But throwing away product is not sustainable. So, but really plant-based options are.
Yeah.
You don't have products that go, bad in a certain period of time. You have contained vegetables, and you can use them for one dish. You can throw them into a soup if they're, if they need to be used up. There's just multiple ways that you can use vegetables and whole grains and fruits to be able to serve those dishes and have it not go to waste.
Absolutely. So let's kind of switch gears here and let's look at the consumer. If
Sure.
we're looking to eat more plant forward or totally whole food plant based, what are some strategies we can use when we want to go out to eat?
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, it's always good to try to go online and find some restaurants in the area. Looking for at those apps, just Googling a plant-based in Chicago or whatever it might be, and seeing what comes up, looking at comments of suggestions, but just really trying to find a good starting place. And from there, as you said that you tried to do, is try to call the restaurant and warn them ahead of time. Say, hey, I would like to bring my party to your restaurant, but I'm in charge of choosing the restaurant, and because I have the most needs, I need to have this, this, and this. Can you accommodate me? Is there something you could do for me? And doing it between the hours of 2 and 4 are best when the restaurant is not busy. It is good. And when I did that one time here locally, I asked them if they, could add tofu to the amazing vegetable kebabs that they had. And the restaurant owner was said, absolutely, I'll go out and do that. And she grabbed some tofu and grilled that up for me too. And add some pomegranate molasses for some taste, and it was amazing.
Hmm.
So, just being able to do certain things like that. Now, my work as a consultant would come in where it's like, okay, but we don't really want half a block of tofu because that's just a little too much. Need some potatoes on the side, or we could use some rice, whatever, So the balanced part of it is where I really find the most need, because they don't really understand that balance between starchy and non-starchy and the proteins and so forth. So and that just leaves their customers feeling satiated and just feeling great about what they have just eaten. So
Hmm.
talking with the chef will get you places, but if you can't and it's last minute or someone else chooses the restaurant, really going on, if you can go on ahead of time and look at the menu, great. If you can't, review the whole menu when you get there. Look at every ingredient for everything so you have an idea of what is in the kitchen, and
Yes.
hopefully it would be a place. If it's just an outright chain, you might be out of luck. You might be just taking some things off of things and ending up with a sad side salad. But if it's a scratch kitchen or it's a small local chain, a lot of times that they would be willing to accommodate. Some restaurants I'm noticing now are saying no substitutions, but many will do it. And that is when we're looking at all those ingredients. What do they have back there? So at one restaurant here too, I also asked for, they had a sea bass selection, and it had lots of great vegetables with bok choy and so many great vegetables. I'm like, this is awesome, but can you please do this? And I need, they did have some beans and, a couple of other things. And the chef came out to talk to me at the table the very first time. He came right out, which I did not expect. I just asked the server if she could ask him if he could do it. He came out, we chatted. He said, no problem. Let me see what I can do. He pulled together a beautiful dish so that people that I was dining with, instead of feeling bad for me, they were actually in awe and jealous of what I had. They wanted that too. So there's just something about vegetables when you make them right that they're just so appetizing to look at, let alone to eat. So I took pictures of it. I'm posting it everywhere. So, when you serve someone who's plant-based well, they will tell everybody. And now when I go back, every time I go back, they know what to serve me. I try to come up with some different things because we don't want to eat the same thing every single time. And I've been trying to work with them for a little while now, but when a restaurant has things like that, you can pull things together, including from the sides. You don't want to skip the sides because that's where, just those dishes are, and just the whole ingredient dishes are, and the appetizers. And I just ask them to pull things together. Sometimes, like I went to a First Watch. That's a breakfast place that's a lot in the Northeast here. But I will ask them, even though it's a chain, they were willing to, for this one dish, take away some things. But then I was like, okay, I noticed you had zucchini and mushrooms up here. Can you put some of that on? And they were willing to do that.
Hmm.
Second thing I think about is preparation. So like I said, places will put a lot of oil on things and a lot of salt. So
Hmm.
we definitely try to say to that, to ask for no oil to be used in the preparation, that water saute is good. I hate to say broth because a lot of times it's going to be a high
Yeah.
salt chicken broth, and that would ruin it for me. So we just tell them you can saute or grill without oil, hopefully cleaning the oil off the grill first. I know we've been there. There's a Mexican restaurant near us who has done that for us. And then so with no oil, and then they can steam rice instead of the cooked rice with the oil that they have or cooked in chicken broth. But a lot of places will just steam rice, and sometimes oddly they kind of prefer that themselves, so they know how to cook that up quickly. And so, just looking at the preparation of things. So be bold enough to advocate for yourself and asking for things not to be prepared in oil, or not for no butter, no extra fats, that type of thing. And even if you're a person that does have some meat, ask for smaller portions, or, ask for it not to have that, the extra, made in butter or whatever it is. Just be mindful of the preparation, and that saves you not just in calories, but really it saves your health in so many different metabolic ways that it makes you so happy when you leave that you did that. Sometimes it's a lot to remember. I suggest writing it down on a card. Or some other way that you can remember those kinds of things. Sometimes you also have to remember to tell them no extra oil or no extra cheese on top of the beans or the salsa or the baba ganoush or the hummus or whatever they bring out. That sounds high maintenance, but it really isn't, because that oil at 4,000 calories a pound, like it's just the highest caloric density food that you could eat, and it's just so harmful to our cardiovascular system that it's worth it, to do that. Just that small little thing, being bold enough to politely advocate for ourselves really goes a long way.
I love that. I think that's very good advice. In fact, I know that personally, I found that sometimes I've ended up with friends, for example, at a steakhouse, and it seems like there's nothing there, but they always have some assortment of vegetables as
Yeah.
side dishes. It might be peas or broccoli or green beans. And I've had them sometimes make a whole plate for me just out of their vegetable sides, or checked out the salad bar, which is often, even in a steakhouse, you might have a salad bar, and you can often get your beans as well as your salad there. So those are some of the tips that I know I've done when
Hmm.
I've been eating out and traveling. It's interesting to me that we're starting to get to a place where even in big airports, you have a variety.
Right.
Like the farmer's fridge will sometimes have chia puddings that are non-dairy, right?
Right.
Or I've even seen like soy curls with quinoa um, in some of the bigger airports. And so it's like it's becoming more available, but you have to kind of be aware, you need to know what you're looking for. And I love the tips that you brought for us here today. As those of you that are listening, if you would like to have a really nice guide on how to have healthier meals at restaurants, Terry is offering that as a free gift. So check in the description right below the video you're watching here, and you will see a link there where you can get this free handout that can help you as a guide when you're going out to eat, how to pick and how to have healthier meals. You'll also see Terry's contact information below here, so you can follow her at plantfully.pittsburgh on Instagram, or Facebook, Plantfully Pittsburgh, LinkedIn, Terri West, that's Terri. And she also has a website. You'll see that link here below. So I just really want to thank you so much for being with us here today, Terry. And I don't know if you have like one key piece of advice that you would love to share with people before we close down today's Expert Edge, but how would you encourage people that are looking to eat healthier when they go out?
Sure. So honestly, the biggest part of it is really just advocating for yourself and being your best health coach and CEO of your health. Just really make it matter. And if it matters enough to you, you will speak up and say something. You're not inconveniencing someone else. They don't understand, they don't know. And sometimes when they do, they're more than happy to help you, to accommodate you if they at all can. So truly, it is worth being able to speak up and to advocate.
I really appreciate that. I think that's really wise advice. And I want all of you listening today to remember that health is wealth and it comes by choice, not by chance. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, Lucia.